Have you ever had periods in your life when everything's going well, everything's flowing, and you know that if anything goes wrong, you've only got yourself to blame? And then suddenly something happens. Something comes into your life, and then things get complicated. And this kind of describes a life partnership. You have two different personalities trying to meet in the middle, and there's always the difficulty in getting two different things to join and to perform in unison. And the usual thing when you are attempting to put two different elements together is to use a method that is common at that point in time. And whilst this will produce something that looks good from the outside, there may be things brewing inside that nobody is aware of. Now, how does this apply to roofs? Now, I'll bring up a situation here where we got a tile roof that's trying to meet up to a glass roof. And how do you do the joint between the tile roof and the glass roof? It's an interesting question. And the answer on this particular roof was to butt the tile roof up to the glass roof and bed the edge of the roof tile to the aluminium angle at the edge of the glass roof. And this looks quite good. And we think that this is a perfectly good combination. What we cannot see is what actually is happening, because the union between the two is not as waterproof as you would hope. As we take this joint apart, you'll see that it's been leaking for a while and it's actually rotted one of the battens out. Now, the real story here is not how we found the hidden problem, because no one would know that there was a problem until something else comes into the picture. So what happened on this particular roof was that the owner decided that they wanted an awning put on top of the glass roof, which meant that big brackets had to be put up on the edge of the glass roof to support the awning. The roof tiles on the edge had to be taken apart to install this bulky bracket. And this is how this hidden problem was found. And it wasn't because we went looking for it, it was because we had to solve another problem. And this fresh problem was, how are we going to waterproof this new joint? So let's have a look at what's happening here. We've got the roof tile, and then we've got the glass roof in here, and this is the edge mullion, the glass panel, and we've got the rafter with the batten and sarking underneath. And this is how the tile was joined to the glass roof. It was simply bedded on top of the edge channel. And we had a leak coming down there, which destroyed the batten over time, and no one knew about it. So what's happened now is that there's now a giant bracket that's been installed on the edge to support the awning. So the tile had to come off, and the challenge now is, how do we actually make this joint work? And in line with how we actually approach all our roof repairs, we are looking at a solution that has redundancies and also based on first principles. So let's have a look at how we're going to approach this and create a solution to this problem. Now, we know that redundancy number one is the sarking. So the sarking should be left there intact so that it is the last barrier against roof leakage. What we now need is, what is the next barrier against leakage at the joint? And we simply use the fact that we've got a H-shaped channel and we need to put in a soaker flashing. So what we're looking at is a flashing that will take away any water that comes off this edge. So this is what a soaker looks like. So the idea is that any water that does come in through the primary flashing will dribble down, get caught by the soaker flashing, and the soaker flashing takes the water all the way to the gutter. And that should eliminate any leaks into the roof. And you've also got the sarking there, just in case. But this is the main working part of our solution. Now, with any particular situation, there are always a lot of variables, and we've got to work with all these variables. So the most important variables are the height differences between that structure, and how we can actually install the socket flashing. We know that we don't want to disturb the sarking, which means that we want to disturb the batten as little as possible. We need something to support the socket flashing. So what we've come up with is we have removed a section, the top layer on this batten, to enable this soaker to be installed with a nail just to hold it down. So the roof tiles go back onto the battens. There is a soaker underneath to catch any water. And what we now do to tidy everything up is we put a flashing that goes from here over the top and like so. Obviously we need to modify the flashing where we've got the bracket, but essentially this is how the edge flashing works. A flexible walker flex flashing that goes over the edge of the roof, and that is the primary defense against water ingress. So you stop the water there. If that fails and water gets in, you've got our soaker flashing. If that ever fails, you've got the sarking. So we've got 1, 2, 3 separate barriers of entry for water. So we always love our redundancies because you'll never know when that can fail in the future. So the lesson here is everything is simple until you bring in an incompatible partner. But even with incompatible partners, you can still make the union work if you know how. And plus, if you want to make sure that it works long term, you've got to put in layers of redundancy. And that perhaps is our roof and life lesson on this video.